Hello, welcome to Bart's Gaming Corner. 2022 promises to be a great year for video games in almost every genre. So let's take a look at what we can expect on the front of first-class turn-based 4X and grand strategy games. One thing I noticed, by the way, about this list is the great number of promising space strategy games. So let's begin. Old World. This 4X strategy game, obviously inspired by the Civilization series, has a bit of an odd recent development history. Well, at least to me. At the end of last summer I came across a couple of raving reviews and was quite looking forward to buying and playing this game. But then it wasn't available on any platform. Anywho, the good news is this game will probably be released in the second half of this year, 2022. Old World is created by one of the brains behind the Galactic Civilization IV, Soren Johnson, and promises to combine grand strategy with the dynastic wheeling and dealing you know from games like Crusader Kings and to a lesser extent the Total War series. You start out in antiquity and must navigate your civilization all the way to the Middle Ages. No modern time or space flight in this game, hence the name Old World. In my opinion, an original and fresh game in this genre. Old World is being developed by Moha Games and will be available for PC on Steam, Epic and GOG in the second quarter of 2022. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. A combination of Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis and Total War, what is not to like? Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign is a real-time grand strategy game set in the Middle Ages. You choose a country in Europe or the Near East and try to become the superpower of the age. Knights of Honor 2 is an ambitious game. Almost every aspect you can think of in the strategy genre is here. Developing the economies of your countries and cities, skillful diplomacy with your enemies and allies, a royal court where you deal with your various subjects, loyal or not, and tactical battles between medieval armies, all done in real time. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign is being developed by Black Sea Games and will probably be made available on PC somewhere this year. Victoria Free. The strategy games being made by Paradox Development are to the strategy genre what the Football Manager series does to the football or soccer genre. A very in-depth, highly detailed experience that is not for the faint of heart. As soon as you gain a little bit of knowledge on how to play the games, you're hooked for life. The Victoria series is no exception to this. Compared to the excellent Crusader Kings and Europa or Universalis series, they are probably somewhat lesser known, but still offer the same exceptional quality in gameplay. Victoria 3 takes place in the 19th and early 20th century. You can choose almost any country from that period and take them to greatness in any way you see fit. Build a civilization with trade and diplomacy, or wage war on any neighbor foolish enough to get in your way. Victoria 3 is one of those games that really deserves the grand strategy. It will be released on PC, but a precise date is not known yet. Galactic Civilisations IV. Already the 4th edition of the famous Galactic Civilization series, developed by Stardog Games. This is a typical classic 4X turn-based strategy game set in space. It promises to offer all the staple 4X elements. Lots of factions to choose from, a large impressive tech tree, different ways to achieve victory by conquest, trade or diplomacy, and turns. Lots and lots of turns. While building on the gameplay elements of its predecessors, Galactic Civilisations IV also offers some new aspects, for instance story-driven missions, mixed populations and battles that last longer than one turn. Galactic Civilisations IV can be played right now in a alpha access mode, which according to Stardog Games is not for the faint of heart, and will be fully available on PC somewhere in 2022. Terra Invicta by developer Pafonus Interactive. This is an original turn-based space strategy game. You have to choose from 7 different factions in order to defend Earth from an alien invasion. Caveat being that Earth is pretty divided on how to defend itself. So you won't just be dealing with the aliens, but different self-interested humans as well. Each faction has its own interest and strength and weaknesses. Your time is divided between uniting and conquering the different nations on Earth, building space stations all over the solar system, and fighting tactical turn-based battles in space. Terra Invicta will be available on PC in the second quarter of 2022. Alliance of the Sacred Suns. Alliance of the Sacred Suns is a 4X space strategy game with RPG elements. So somewhere in the same vein as Galactic Civilisations or Dune. You start as the young emperor of a human space empire 1,000 years in the future. Your empire is divided, on the brink of collapse, and on the verge of being overrun by outside invaders. So you will have your work cut out for you. From what I've seen, this is a game with an emphasis on gameplay. Alliance of the Sacred Suns is set to be released on PC, on Steam and GOG.com in the first quarter of 2022. So, any day now. Dustfleets. Another strategy game set in space, however this one focuses more on the actual battles between fleets. You map out your course on the strategic map, develop and build the ships in your fleet, and fight out turn-based battles in space. From what I've seen from the trailer, these actually look pretty amazing. So a bit like XCOM, but with large fleets instead of small squads of soldiers. Dustfleets is being developed by Orbiting Disco, a small studio, and is set to be released on PC on Steam somewhere this year. Distant Worlds 2. Impressive and immersive. These are some of the terms that came to my mind when looking at the game footage of Distant Worlds 2. An immense 4X real-time space strategy game, Distant Worlds 2 offers over 2,000 star systems and tens of thousands of planets, moons and asteroids for you to explore, colonize or conquer. The game is highly replayable. Every time you start a new save, the galaxy is completely regenerated and different from other saves. You can win by either peaceful methods or through unscrupulous conquest. Whatever fits with you. Distant Worlds 3 is available on PC and will be released quite soon on 10th of March this year. Punk Wars. A post-apocalyptic 4X turn-based strategy game from small studio Strategy Force SA. Here you can choose between different corporations, Steam, Steel, Atom and Diesel Punk, and try to raise humanity from the ashes of civilization. For a small indie game, Punk Wars looks pretty good. It flew a bit under the radar, well, at least to me, because this game is already available and playable since November of 2021. Master of Magic. And we're back to medieval fantasy in this remake of a 90s classic. I slightly remember playing the original Master of Magic, which had a Civilization meets Lord of the Rings kind of vibe, or Heroes of Might and Magic kind of vibe. It is a turn-based strategy game where you develop your cities, build armies composed of the staple fantasy races, elves, dwarves, ogres, oh my, and try to fight against the other wizards for the domination of not one but 2 worlds. Master of Magic is being developed by Muha Games, what's in a name, and will be made available on PC somewhere this year. Birth of Civilization, or BOC. And finally, a 4X indie strategy game that takes you from the end of the Ice Age to the end of antiquity. Created by small studio Code Arts, BOC, or Birth of Civilization, is a turn-based strategy game very much in the same vein as the original Civilization games. Code Arts promises a massive, realistic world to take your small tribe of nomads
to greatness throughout the ages. The exact release date isn't known yet, but an early access edition will become available for PC in the first quarter of this year.